Alrighty. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Slippery Steve Show, the slipperiest of all Stevies. I am joined with the humble, the almighty, the one, the only, the myth, the legend, Orion Acaba.
That's I don't know about the mighty part, but thank you. Everything else is 100% accurate though. No, just kidding. Thanks, man. How you doing?
Good. It is a wonderful Saturday afternoon. How are you doing out on the West Coast?
We're doing okay, all things considering. But no, the weather's fine. It's a nice day out and stuff. It's a wonderful day for a hike if you wish, in the wonderful hills of Southern California. But it's great. And what's up, stream? How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? It's nice to chat. So what's going down, Slippery Steve?
Well, I figured let's give a little bit of background to why we're graced with your presence today.
Okay.
I think it was just a little over a year ago.
Yes.
A little over a year ago, I started my journey on sobriety, and you happened to chime in and said, "Show me 3 months, and you got a deal with an interview." Because I think I was bugging you about an interview at the time. So,
Yeah.
and it's been over a year now. So here we are, and time has finally graced us with the ability to work this out.
Yeah, and I believe at one point you even passed the 3 months. You're like, hey, I hit my mark, but I'm working on getting a channel together, and you started to work on stuff. I believe around there, and man, I gotta say I'm super proud of you, which is why I'm doing this fucking interview. So congratulations, by the way,
Thank you.
On your sobriety, because that's an incredible accomplishment to achieve. And then, from going, because I remember you hitting me up and saying like, oh, I would like to start streaming and do this stuff, and then I was like, well, show me some shit, and then boom, you're off to the races, which was awesome. So now I'm here, and challenge accepted.
Yes, finally.
But congratulations on your sobriety, man.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's get to the nitty gritty.
Yes. Yeah. So let me speak to the chat real quick. As you're coming in, people, we only got 2 viewers right now, but hey, don't be shy. Jump in here and say hi. I promise neither one of us will bite. What else here? And throw questions in too. Feel free to chime in and ask. If we see it and it's appropriate, then we'll get to it. So, well, let's kick it right off, man. Just give me like a lowdown of. Let's just start with like your childhood and how everything was out there. Were you born in Hollywood, California, or am I getting
the origin story? Is that what you want?
The origin story, Marvel's origin.
No, I was born in Hollywood Presbyterian, in Southern California, and essentially grew up. My folks divorced when I was 10. Been raised by a single mom, and lived in Hollywood area till I was like 8 or 9, and then moved to Puerto Rico. I'm Puerto Rican, and my grandfather is like Polish Jew, so I'm like Polish Jew and Puerto Rican. That's like the weirdest. Like everybody else in my family is like Latino. But yeah, we lived in Puerto Rico for a couple of years. Moved back when I was around 10-ish, and then was in San Fernando Valley ever since. That was pretty much it. I went to public school. I didn't do well in school.
Yeah.
I've never really been one for listening to authority, so that that the structure of school didn't work too well for me. I managed with classes that I really liked, which I think is a classic ADHD kind of thing with kids. It's like I failed at like math almost every year, but I like got like A's and B's and C's to the lesser degree for the classes I did like, and that was my scholastic career growing up. I was a weird kid though. At the age of 6 is when, because I was like an out of control just nut, and running around all the time, and that's and I remember going to the doctors, and they did like a EEG or something like that, and like put me on in therapy at 6 and on Ritalin like way fucking early, and to level me out and stuff. So I was always like this really hyperactive kid, if they didn't like essentially give me fucking drugs to calm me the fuck down. And so yeah, I think that that goes for a lot of people, I think, in general. There was a lot of overdosing of Ritalin for kids in the 80s, but I don't know. That was like my childhood was really strange. I was super religious growing up. I was raised in a Catholic home, and so I always have this like relenting guilt for something, just in my soul, and like still.
You said you were raised Catholic?
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
Did you go to Sunday school?
Yeah, I actually did go to Sunday school for about a year.
Oh yeah, that was.
But I was too much trouble, and they essentially were gonna like, I guess essentially my mom took me out before they could expel me. Is what happened. That's how that worked out. And but to be fair, those people were awful and cruel. All the teachers there, except save for one, who was this really cool father, priest. He was cool, but like all the nuns were, they did the whip the back of my hand with a ruler kind of shit, and like archaic shit. And I was like, no, don't touch me. What are you doing?
Right.
Even as a little kid. So I've had some. I had this. All right, here's a fun Catholic school story. One time I went to school and my tooth was loose. Right.
Okay.
I was like, really, I was young, and my one of my baby teeth were coming out, and I kept like messing with it, like doing like bending it all around because it was like not coming out. And the teacher, like, she didn't give me a warning. She was just like, she's like, Orion, come up here. And she was just really this big lady, big mean lady. I can't even remember her face, but I remember her being like a hulking old lady, and she grabbed my face and ripped the tooth out of my mouth, and I was like, what the and like I ran home because I was like, because I saw blood, and it was like I wasn't prepared mentally for what I was doing, and my mom came back and was like, and she fucking rose hell. She's like, don't you fucking touch my son. So good memories of Catholic school.
Yeah.
I'm sure mine is like literally the worst on like the least shitty on the spectrum of shit in the Catholic school system. I'm on like the way lesser. This is awful.
It's on a level of its own.
Boy, that goes really the other way. Ooh.
Yeah.
Luckily I didn't experience any of that shit. But yeah. So yeah, raised up in a fairly religious home. I kind of bucked the idea of organized religion though, when I was like around 16, 17, which was probably due to LSD, because I proved to myself through the cosmos that something does exist greater than we are, but it's not has nothing to do with the fucking Pope.
Right.
After that, I was kind of on my own. and I'm just kind of a open spiritual guy in general, but not necessarily, you know. So that's that's a good leading up to my 17, 18. I left high school. I was a high school dropout.
Mm-hmm.
So kids stay in school. Like, no, seriously. It helps now. It does help for sure. But I knew I wanted to do something in entertainment, and quite frankly, I don't think those two go hand in hand. Like, I don't think like there's no reason. But I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I started working at the age of 17. I actually started to work. This is why I actually didn't go back to school. Is I started to work on an independent film as a production assistant, and my buddy got me a job, and I mean, I was making like $125 a day. At 17, it's
pretty good.
Awesome. So, and it was 6 days of, 6 days a week of work. We worked on that for for 6 weeks. And then the crew just kept hiring me again and again. And so I started to work in production. And from 17, I just worked on a bunch of independent films, which led me to land a job doing HVAC work, which I was certified for eventually. And did air conditioning and generators for films. So we did power and electric and AC for all kinds of. So I worked on all kinds of big AAA films, moving into like my early 20s. So essentially from 17 to 24, 25, that's what I was doing. And the artistic side of me in the 17 to that early 20s realm was music. I was a singer in a shitty band. And I was a shitty singer. I was awful. And there are no records or recordings, thank God, of
I can see it right now, like people starting to look.
No, I'm just like I back then I didn't know about there was no YouTube. There was none of this shit yet. So just then it was just spite. I was just like, this is all burnt. And so yeah. And the one hard drive that did have that information got fucked up in the rain, or it got rained on, and it was destroyed. So that's cool. And so that was what I was doing. I was singing. I was writing music. I was doing production and engineering for this shitty band that I was a part of. And then that turned into 25 going to 27 was the realization that I was not going to be a musician, and that I was not a good singer or good enough. And that led me into quitting my production side of things. I got a job at working for Apple, actually, before the iPhone hit, and as an inventory manager there, right? And I worked that job for a few years, 4 years almost. And in that time, I was lost as an artist. I didn't know what the fuck I was gonna do. I wanted to do something. And then my best friend, Ronnie City, who has since passed from cancer. Fuck that shit. He was the one. He's like, you should do voice acting. You should go to the voiceover. We grew up in LA. We know the rules. We hate actors. Growing up here, and a few of my friends, or a couple of my friends, I should say, were successful child actors. So I saw what the business does and how and what it does, I should say, or how it does it. And he was like, you know what? Even though we know the rules, fuck it. He's like, I know you could do it anyway. And and then he essentially inspired me to go take a class. I went to Voicecaster over in Burbank, California, and took a beginner's I went in there super cocky too. By the way, I was like, I've sung in a band. I know how to fucking use a microphone, dude. I'm like,
yeah, okay, I know that.
Fucking perform. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I didn't know. I didn't know shit. I didn't know shit when I went there. I learned that real quick, and it was good. It was nice. It was humbling, and I did well in the class. And my instructor was like, normally classes want you to do like, oh, you did the beginners, now try the intermediate, or whichever one's first, and you go to the next one. Then go to the middle section, and you go to advanced. My teacher, Huck Leggett, was like, you're fine, go make a demo. I'm like, wow. And he was like mean throughout the whole time. I think he was just like, he was that tough love kind of coach, which is kind of the coach I am. But he was just like, it was just really nice, that whole experience at Voicecaster. And then, yeah, at the mid 27, when I was 27, so this was like now, what, 2007? I made a demo and went out and essentially just did this whole thing of like, hey, can you, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'd like to do voiceover. And I sent to like every studio that I knew. I'm a huge gamer, so I already knew a lot of the studios that like did stuff, and I hit them up and I was like, hey, like, I love what you guys do and make, and I would love to be a part of that. And
what year was this around?
This was 2007.
2007,
so
okay.
The just for reference, the time frame from me taking a class, from me deciding I wanted to do it, to taking a class, to getting a demo done, was, for me, it took like 3 months.
Okay.
So it was like, did the class, did the thing, and then I had a plan that whole time on how I was going to get in contact with people.
Yeah.
This is, of course, I think times are different now, and the market's really saturated, so you can't just kind of knock on people's doors anymore. I mean, I didn't really do that, but
canvassing demos.
I mean, actually, no, I would cold call people. I cold called. I was just calling people like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm sorry to bother you. I don't know what the fuck I was doing, man. Like,
right.
Actually, Neil Gaiman says this. He has this commencement speech, this 2012 commencement speech that he did. And it for all of you looking for inspiration, go out there and YouTube it, watch it. It's, no matter, I think, what you do, you can apply it to your life. But there's a wonderful quote in there that he says, and you should definitely check that out. I'm actually not going to even repeat it because I want people to go actually see this.
Cool.
So Neil Gaiman, writer of Sandman and Coraline and a bunch of other awesome things. But yeah, so yeah, did the class, made the demo, called people, and luckily most of those people were kind and allowed me to try, which was great. And then I just started booking stuff, and then I quickly got an agency, and then from there I quit my job and just kind of dedicated myself. There was a lot of sacrifice and struggle. I mean, shit, there still is, still to this day. But I just decided to make a very important choice, and I stuck with that. And it's a hard thing to do, for sure. But that's led me up to now. Next question. That was one question, by the way.
Yes.
That was one question.
That was fucking awesome, by the way.
That's what I told you.
Yeah.
I was like, each one of these things is a loaded question.
I was warned before the stream. Well,
just so you folks know, Slippery Steve here gave me a. Can I just call you Steve, or do you want?
Oh, you can call me Chris. That's fine. I don't care.
Okay.
It's whatever.
So who's Steve?
Yeah, Steve. We'll be Steve today.
No, you can be Chris. I mean, you can be whoever you want. But it's Slippery Steve is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. But no, I don't know if you go by, your handle on Twitch or you go by your name.
This guy.
Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna go into that. Thank you, Super Munch. Let's go into the next question. I won't cut you off.
Oh no, we can drop that later. That's fine. I was gonna ask, and you kind of started segueing right into it. What got you into voice acting? And you mentioned pretty much kind of like your beginning path there. So, you said about
why that first instead of like on camera or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, given the choices, it sounded like you there was kind of like I don't know the word for it, but like a teenage angst against the actors on camera.
It wasn't the actors themselves. It's the process of getting the job for on camera acting. That's
Kind of, yeah, like the Hollywood mentality.
Actors are fine. I have a lot of actor friends, but it's what I mean is the on camera process is you have to understand. Like, so for people who don't know, voiceover is, I feel, a lot easier to do because most of the time you can audition from your home. So you're already here, and even if you have, look, I've had days where I have 10, 15 auditions to crank out in a 4-hour span or something like that, and I'm like just sitting down and looking at stuff, and I'm like, holy crap, I didn't know how to do. So I'll be just working solid for 4 hours, probably 5, because I always take a little bit longer than I'm supposed to. And I think that's barely known about me, yeah, no, that whole thing of what you're talking about, or we're asking the avenues of actually, hold on, I'm getting lost in my own tangent here. Reel me back in, Steve.
Oh,
Chris.
Yeah, no, you can stick. We'll stick with Steve. What the hell? I mean, it says it on the screen.
Come on.
Yeah, I know. You gotta be consistent. What the fuck am I doing? Yeah, it was just basically, what got you into voice acting versus screen acting.
Oh, right. So that's what I was trying to clarify. I was like, God, I got lost in traffic here. Okay, so here's the thing. So the whole thing, record from home, auditions for voiceover, right? If you're doing on camera stuff, LA is very spread out. Like, it's very, like, nothing is really close to each other. So you're gonna be in traffic for if I'm in San Fernando Valley here, and my audition is in Santa Monica, which is like over here, with no traffic, that drives only about 25-35 minutes, right? But on any given day, it's going to be like an hour and a half or 2 hours of hell. So it's a 4-hour commute or a 3-hour commute, just so you can go into a room with a bunch of people who look just like you, to go in and sit in front of people who don't care who you are, so you can pretend to drive a bus or a van for Honda. Like, it's very subjective, and so what I'm saying, it's a bigger headache because it's not like you can do a lot of things. You have to go over here and over there. So the on-camera process, and that's what I was talking about. I hate that. So I will do it, but I hate it. And so that's why we're like, we hate the actor's process, and plus cattle calls are really crappy for your self-esteem. Because if I'm being honest, you go into a room and the guys look like me, but they look so much more handsome and younger, and it's just demoralizing. And so there's that, and people are like, you know what, everybody's there. I'm like, fuck you. I'm like, you go there and you go see a more beautiful version of yourself. Like, how does that make you feel? The rest, like, some guy is walking around there with the same, and he's better. Oh, come on.
Oh no.
So I've had a few experiences like that. And so and actually with my friends who did more on camera acting, I would go with them on these auditions, which is where I experienced that a lot more of. Like I was there and I would be like, yo, dude, Brian, everybody looks like you. It's fucking weird. And he's like, shut up, man. And I was like, no, it's super weird. I was like, I'm the weirdest looking guy in the room. And he's like, yeah, but that's all the time. It's like, touche.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that.
So there's a bunch of hymns, and then there's one you, like the Neo and and Agent Smith of the Matrix.
I mean, yeah. I mean, and that's how it is for everybody. I mean, like boys, girls. It's it's crazy. So with voiceover auditioning, there's a beautiful blanket of anonymity. Like anybody could be a dragon. Anybody could be a god, or the sniveling villain, or whoever. It could be anybody could be the hero. Because especially now there's so many different mediums of entertainment, and so the hero category and all these roles are swapped and stuff all the time. So it's, you don't hear this guy, he's not the hero anymore. Like, there's different kinds of heroes now. Now it could be this guy, I'm the hero, and that's a difference in size, in literal size when you get into voice. I'm getting into voice technique now, and that's just weird. So next question.
Right on. Actually, we got one from chat. K Brodig 22. He's a good friend of mine, lives here in York, and actually took one of your dojo classes.
Oh, nice.
He says, what's up, Orion? My question, sorry if already asked. Could you tell us a little about Final Fantasy?
Tell us a little about Final Fantasy. Well, it's a wonderful franchise that was created in Japan.
I kind of felt it was good there, yeah.
And the origin story, if you don't know, I'll tell you a little bit about Final Fantasy. Is this Kyle? Or is this...
Yeah.
Okay, Kyle. What's up, Kyle? Square, I believe it was just Square. It was Square Soft maybe at the time. And they were having a bit of trouble as a company. And this is actually all true, by the way. They were having a bit of trouble as a company, and they were about to go bankrupt, and were going to go under. So what they decided to do was to quit, to drop all development for all these little games that they were trying to make, and pull all resources and money and everything else into one last game, which they called Final Fantasy. And they put it out, and this was their swan song. This was supposed to be like, we're done. Here's our last game. And that fucking game is what made fucking Square what they are today. And that's an actual mythos story of Square, or not Square Enix.
Is some awesome lore.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite stories. Let's see somebody else. What's up, Mighty Quinn? There's if you're talking about the new Final Fantasy that's coming out.
So I hear there's somebody we know that's involved with this.
Yeah, I managed to get inside that game.
Knock the dust off.
I'm just saying. No, it was look, here's the thing. So I've been a Final Fantasy fan since I've been playing games, really. Final Fantasy, I think I started with Final Fantasy 4, and then played 5, and then 6 was the one that really got me like hooked, because 6 I played over and over and over again. And this was like on Super Nintendo, right? And that just, of course, when 7 came out, that was like insane. And I actually have all of them on. I'm proud to say I actually have all of my original disc collection of my Final Fantasies. And so nice. When I booked 9 of Final Fantasy Type 0, that was probably the coolest fucking thing. One of my favorite, still one of my most favorite roles, just because I am a playable character in a Final Fantasy game, which is amazing. And then I managed to get into Final Fantasy 15,
Mm-hmm.
and now I've done the hat trick where I managed to get into Final Fantasy 7 remake, and I'm gonna wait to announce because I did a few different things in there,
Mm-hmm.
minor characters. I'll say that I'm not Biggs or Wedge. Unfortunately, I really want.
Yeah.
Really wanted to be Wedge, but they have put me in for stuff. One thing I can't say is I'm a few Shinra soldiers, so I can't say where I'm at or whatever. Namely because the it's done in episodes, so I actually don't know where I come in the game. So I can't say, oh, I'm in this scene or that scene. So
Right.
I hope y'all understand. The like I can talk about it, I'm like I'm in it, but I can't tell you where because I don't know what. And that's the life of NDAs, folks, which is fantastic. And it was I do have to say this. I can speak to the experience, and just being in the booth and you know going through what I've gone through in the last few years, and wanting to always be a part of this, and then finally being a part of it, and it was just overwhelming in a wonderful way, and I really loved every second of it. And one of my things I do play in it is so silly. I'm very happy about it. So it's just one of the things where I was like, you know what? It's cliche for actors to be like, I was happy to be a part of it, because a part of it is just a tiny little part. But I think for me, this time saying it really rings true. I like any sliver of a part I could be a part of, I am eternally grateful for. Which is so cool. So yeah, that's what I can say about that particular game. Next question.
Cool. Well, let's get to a chat one again. I see Super Munch jumping back in here saying, what are you currently playing, if anything? I'm gonna just jump and assume he's talking about video games.
Yes.
Obviously, right?
Yeah. I'm right now. I'm actually kind of playing just a bunch of Star Trek Online. That's like what my jam is right now. I was actually considering. I haven't streamed it all this year, so I was actually planning on probably doing that soon. And Star Trek will probably be the game I'll stream, because I'm just me and my my girlfriend, we've gone through. I think we're at season 4 now of Star Trek Next Generation, because I want to watch Picard. She hasn't seen any of TNG, so I was like, well, we can't move on. We can't move on with our lives.
You have to find a happy medium.
But the cool thing is that she loves the show, so it's like it's fucking mint. So that of course has sprung that and Witcher 3, because we've been watching a lot of Witcher. So I've been playing that again, because I never finished. I actually only played like 8 hours or something like that of gameplay in my original file for Witcher 3, so I've been playing a lot of that too. Or actually, I plan on playing that. I started a file again. I was like, I should save this for a stream, because it still holds up. It's still a beautiful game, and
it is.
I know a lot of people are watching Witcher, so probably I don't know. You can. I think it's a good idea to stream that game. I'm not sure.
What was your take on what was your opinion on Netflix's conversion from game to screen?
I thought it was great. Actually, I thought it was cool because they took a lot of shit more out of the book, which was fucking great. And I think there was a nice, healthy balance. And Henry Cavill is an infamous gamer himself. So I'm pretty fucking sure, because his Geralt is pretty much the game's Geralt. He does that like, damn it, okay, fuck. He does like that kind of shit he does. I'm like, dude, you totally played that game.
Yeah, he is pretty spot on with the voice.
So yeah, I'm a fan I am a fan. Um, uh, yeah. Next question.
I just think it would have been amazing that if the first episode started with him fighting that thing in the swamp, and then he just kind of like wipes his brow and he's like, "Oh, these things they're just silly." Like that would just Henry was just that would be bad. Anyway,
Why would you say that? It's ridiculous. Geralt would never say that.
Yeah, that would just be bad. So what do you listen to or read to help inspire you when you're getting into a recording session? Or in life in general, like when you're having your down moments and you just need something to keep you moving on.
I don't. I used to. I used to have like kind of like a hype soundtrack or whatever that I would play, and I don't really do that anymore. To be honest, I kind of in a weird way, I kind of just enjoy the silence and find answers there now. It's I context. I fill my days with reading, doing auditions or writing an email or watching something, or I'm playing something, and that's just a constant. It's just a constant, the phone, constant. Just I'm interacting with the screen for most of the time, and so for example, the mornings. I think I get up at around 6 a.m. every morning. It doesn't matter if I go to sleep at 11, 12, 1 a.m. I get up at 6 a.m. My body clock is a motherfucker. And I get up, and my roommate and my girlfriends they're asleep. Generally, everybody else in the house gets up at like 8. So I have around like 2 hours of just time, and normally I come into the living room and I sit here actually in this chair, and I go on my phone, I read the news, and I enjoy the silence. I prep my brain for dealing with a day. Sometimes I wake up with anxiety. Sometimes it's battling crippling depression. There's a lot of things that I wake up with every morning that I have to go through in a process to one degree or another. And music and I mean, I guess I do read the news, but I don't count that as reading.
It's the news. It's all fake, right?
Yeah, it's all fake. No, but it's sifting through all the stuff and seeing what's going on. But yeah, so I think because for a long time I diluted myself with my senses with so much stimulation that so I take every morning now to, sometimes I have coffee, sometimes I have tea, sometimes I don't have shit, and I just sit here for 2 hours and just enjoy the quiet before I have to speak or interact. And I know to my people with anxiety out there, if you're listening, that's sometimes music is too stimulating. I don't want to. For me, music is tied to emotion, whether it be whatever that emotion is. You know what I mean? So, not necessarily. Case in point, your alarm, if you have it set to a radio station or whatever, your day will be 100% influenced by whatever song you're woken up to in the morning. And I feel like that's a fun, weird thing that I don't know if it's a fact, but I swear to God, I swear by it. There's, so it's like if you get woken up by like a song that you hate or reminds you of your ex or, whatever, songs are tied to things that are super emotional and deep. I don't want to hear that shit waking up. Fuck all that. Like, So I have my alarm set to the Metal Gear chime. So it's just grating enough, and it makes me feel cool when I wake up. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
So that's my question. I don't necessarily do that. I actually prefer. I go monk style, man. I light incense. I have tea. I chill the fuck out and enjoy my private and silence before I have to break it with the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you. Kind of segueing into that. Now, actually getting into the booth when you go for, say, an audition, or you're at home getting ready to record. A lot of people I've watched and stuff that I see on classes and whatnot. As a voice, aspiring voice actor, studying to be one, hopefully. I see a lot of people do all these kind of crazy, weird vocal warm-ups and stuff like that, like the brrrs and the and all that kind of stuff. Like, do you have anything that you that you found is kind of like your niche?
I always feel a lot of those are, look, hey, I'm not knocking anything. Whatever it takes for you to get there, get there. But right. One thing I find, and that's all subjective, by the way, or I should say relative. It's not subjective. It's relative to the person. I got some big Puerto Rican ass lips, so yeah. Every now and then I go, and I'll do this thing. Hold on, I'll get this. I'll do my monkey face, as I call it. To kind of stretch out that part and just loosen it up, like physically loosen it up. I'll do I call it my Louis Armstrong, where I'll put my fists up and go.
Right.
And just and push all my trumpet players out there. Boom, you know what I'm talking about. But that really loosens up your cheeks, and it's nice. And then some jaw movements if you're filming. It's all if I feel fine, I don't do any of this shit. I'm just like, yeah, let's rock it. And, I might do scales if I feel a little off. And just get like I might do that if I'm like feeling a little wonky or something, but that's rare. I mean, that's but I definitely do the Armstrong, Louis Armstrong, and the I always like the jaw. It's just stretching your jaw, your mouth, the actual physical parts here. I do stretch those. Monkey face. You guys, you can name whatever. I'm giving these things titles. But so yeah, those are really the only things too. I feel unless you are singing in your session, there's no need for you to do singing warm-ups or vocalizations. And quite frankly, I think look, working in a lot of video games, you actually you need to save your voice. So it's silly to kind of work it, quote unquote, work it before, like if you're going into a vocally stressful session, you're not going to want to do any of that. If you're going into an animated session and you have some singing to do, yeah, maybe that's actually probably smart. Have some tea, some warm tea with lemon, do the thing, but you do the classic throat clear and go through. Or there's Chris Zimmerman, who's a great director. She has this theory of humming through, not actually doing. She doesn't want you doing that. She says that it's a good thing to do is hum through it, like however you want to hum, but instead of coughing, hum it out, so you're not doing any wear and tear on your actual throat, which is an interesting thing. So there's and yes, super much, plenty of water. All the fucking time. I mean, that's really what it is. Just water. During a session,
Mm-hmm.
I know how vocally stressful it is on how many bottles of water or how many glasses of water I drink within the session because I have them all lined up at the end. Um,
Oh, nice.
and so for Just Cause 4, when I did Rico Rodriguez, like each one of those sessions when I did just VO, because I did all the motion capture and PCAP and I did all the stuff for it. But for the actual voiceover, those sessions were pretty strenuous because when you talk like this and do a bunch of lines, it's a little bit different. That's 4 hours of yelling and doing all kinds. It was. So I went through a lot of water, and that carried me through. So by the end of like one of those sessions, I was like at 5 bottles of water, and yeah, it's like you're just pissing water, like you're pissing just clear at that point. Very healthy.
Awesome.
So,
now, do you do more work out of your home studio, or do you do more in the actual studios where you have to, I guess, travel to and fro?
actually, I rarely do work here, and if I do, it's it's mainly I'll go to a studio, and do it there. It's like 10% of my work is out of my home. But to be fair, I don't do many private clients anymore, which I used to do a lot of. So there's a difference in that also.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna kind of jump around with questions here. So if the timeline isn't right, we'll say fuck it. It's Slippery Steve's fault. It's not my fault.
Ha.
Yeah. See. So my question was, where did Tiberius Stormwind come from?
Tiberius Stormwind, from the show Critical Role and Draconian Knights. You mean?
Yes.
Is that who you're talking about? No,
yeah, but what I want to dig deep because, like, obviously, a lot of us know you from Critical Role as well, and from Draconian Knights. But like in your head, yeah,
I'm being cheeky.
Oh, of course.
Tiberius
right over my head.
Came from he came from a lot of things, really. The name itself came from I wanted a strong name, and it was either so Tiberius is, I believe, the father of Caesar, Julius Caesar. So he was Tiberius Caesar. So I was like, well, that's cool. That's a cool name. That's where I got that from. And a lot of people think it's from Star Trek, which I love, but not really. I will take credit if people want me to, though. But it actually came from that. I was like, I want a cool, old, powerful name. And so I was like, that's neat. Stormwind was because I'm a big Warcraft fan. Although I play Horde for Warcraft, Stormwind just sounds fucking cool. I liked it a lot. And that, and I was playing a lot of Skyrim, so it was kind of like a combination of both. The Stormwinds are also in Skyrim. So that's kind of where the name came from, and the character himself was a combination of a few things. I had just Loktar Rogar, yes. What should we call it? The character at the time I just played Elminster Almar in Neverwinter, so I got to play, if you don't know who Elminster is, folks, that is the Gandalf of D&D world.
Hell yeah.
So I just played him in that game. And so, and his voice was very serious, like, go out and do this. And it was more serious. And this was, Tiberius was for, our private game before it became a show. And I wanted him to be a little bit more bumbly, and the idea behind the character, the whole, he's me, thinly veiled. That's the thing. It was just like, kind of just like this bumbly guy who, speaks when he's not supposed to speak and says shit he's not supposed to say, and somehow manages to, save his friends and get out of, he's strategic when he needs to be.
Right.
That it's only essentially in battle and everything else is a fuck fest of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I am. So the personality is, I like always, I've said this a few times, but I think people play D&D pretty much one of two ways: either the antithesis of yourself or youth thinly veiled, right? Or veiled to some degree. So it's either you're playing self with superpowers or you're just getting out of your own skin and doing something that's not you at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's levels to that, but I
Sure.
think you can break it down safely in those two categories. And so, that's where that came to pass with that. And there's just other things, especially now, again, going back to Star Trek, there's a lot of things that I realized that I was like, holy shit, because I watched Star Trek like growing up, like way too much. So going back or watching TNG recently is actually shed some light, because I've been working on Draconian Knights on a new episode, like an actual new episode, to finish the series, the season, finally, and going back and rewriting Tiberius dialogue. I have come to recently find that there's a lot of Patrick Stewart in Tiberius. There's a lot of it in there, and it was completely fucking subconscious and by accident.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I go back and I listen to stuff, and the way he speaks, yes, go, and then like commander, like all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, holy shit! I was fucking Star Trekking the whole time, and I didn't know it. So there's a little bit of that, I think, in there, which I'm very happy to say, because he does have that. When he gives commands, he's very sure of himself. He's very confident. That's only when it's like, the stakes are high, and everything else, he's just like, well, I guess I'll go to my ready room.
Yeah.
Cold grey tea, hot. Like I literally could say everything that Patrick Stewart says in TNG as Tiberius, and it would work the same fucking way. Mr. Worf, get in my ready room.
Yes. I say, this Dragonborn sounds a lot like me.
Data. Fireball.
No, that would be a crossover. That would be great.
Yeah, I love it. No, it'd be weird. But so that's essentially where Tibbs comes from. Yeah.
That's awesome. So segueing into that, tell us some more about for the people that don't know, Draconian Knights. This is
Draconian Knights
amazing.
is it's a radio play that I did. It's kind of more geared to kids. There's some overtones there to it for us, but it's essentially when I left Critical Role, I wanted to do something different with Tiberius's character, and so that's what essentially that story is. And essentially it follows Tiberius going back to his family and following their story of their adventures of protecting their land. I believe I called it Terra Nova, is the world, and Draconia is essentially the pinnacle of justice that protects the world, and they have come to find this evil, this underground evil that has been working in conspiracy, and they start uncovering these 8 evil villains, or 7, 6. I'm not sure yet. 6. Let's just say 6. 6 evil, because I haven't actually written the rest of them yet. So like 6 evil villains that have not been revealed to the audience, and they go through that. Through this, think of the X-Men in the 90s, kind of animated with that whole D&D flair. And I do all the production and the writing and the sound effects and design and all that stuff. And I've recently been re-uploading them with art and kind of more of a story animatic for the playback, which before there was just like a still of the show's logo, but now there's actually interchanging art with dialogue, which is nice. And yeah, it's been a long fucking trek trying to complete this thing because well, don't do drugs, folks. That's the short story of that. But no, I had to like get my life together for like a couple of years, and that slowed everything down. It really put a wrench in a lot of stuff as far as production in the show went. But with the help of friends and supporters, I've now I've been re-uploading them. We finished the Kickstarter, thank God, successfully, and yeah, and I've been writing the last episode for the season, which will allow me to go work on the next project I have up my sleeve,
Nice.
which is totally fucking different from Draconian Knights.
Now, is it going to be along the same lines of kind of like a radio play type of thing, like an audio play?
Well, I'm going to try to do a little bit more with the next one. The next project is called Target Boy, and that's just a straight up comedy, and a comedy, and I don't know if anybody knows Duckman or The Critic or any of these shows.
The Critic, yeah, from the
from back-
90s.
Yeah, it's and like Clerks animated. It's essentially a mix of those things, and those are the biggest inspiration with the next show. And so yeah, I'm gonna try to do more. It's gonna be in the same style, but there's gonna be more art for like an actual animatic. I'm gonna try to animate it more a little, especially for the first episode. Just to see what people think about it. So that's really
awesome.
exciting too. That's something I've been working on for a long time that is also very near and dear to my heart. So yeah, I have 2 shows I'm starting to get back to work on that I actually give a shit about. So yeah,
And
it's good.
where can your fans find these things?
On my YouTube channel. That's just type in my name in YouTube, and then it's there. I'm on the YouTube, and that's where
Very subtle.
there's
I'm
where
on
they.
the YouTube.
I'm on the YouTube, folks.
I'm
And yeah, because there's really I'm I have a Twitch channel too, at Orion Acaba, but I think all the stuff that I'll be doing, I might do some, marathons or something of the show. I actually probably will do. Now that we're talking about it, hold on, you're giving me ideas here.
yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
I actually haven't thought about this yet. No, I'm like, I don't know, get your opinion. I was thinking of maybe for the season finale of Draconian Knights doing like a marathon day of like all the episodes, and then airing the last episode as like a thing. That'd be cool. And do like a Q&A throughout, or just commentary and say weird shit while it's happening. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm gonna work this through. I think like I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
Yeah, I would say that would sound really cool. Like, do you have a specific? Well, like, it's on YouTube, right? So they can watch it whenever.
Yeah. I mean, I think the idea is as soon as I get the last episode out
Yeah.
on YouTube, then I'm gonna put all of them on iTunes and SoundCloud, so people can just listen to them like in their car and stuff if they want. Because it is a story.
Right.
It's like the way I make every episode is one it's a continuation off the other from episode to episode.
Mm-hmm.
So you could listen to it as like an audiobook when it's all said and done. Kind of. I don't do narration, which is something I've been thinking about for the next season, if I'm doing narration or not. I kind of didn't want to do narration during the episode because I was like, well, I'm going to just respect my audience's intelligence and try to stay away from exposition and just sneak it into the dialogue. So I don't know. I still like how it is because it's just stupid and awesome and silly. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then of course I kind of stayed away from commentary or social commentary, which I think I want to do more of moving forward. Also, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I gotta. Yeah, this is the shitty part of the interview, folks. This is like just me now thinking out loud. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is not how interviews are supposed to go. Because I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm like taking notes. That's why I had this thing. I'm like
Yeah,
taking
this
random.
is actually not an interview. It's my audition for his production team. This is
Yes, it's this is just a meeting, a
Mhm.
HR meeting right now.
Yeah.
Or not R&D meeting, HR. Okay. He touched me, folks. No. But yeah. Next question. Is there a next question?
How do you segue out of that one?
No.
Man.
You just yell out next question. That's how you do it.
Yeah. Next question.
That's called editing a scene.
Peter, what are you doing? What's some name dropping of some of your idols or mentors? Maybe from the past or current?
My idols and mentors. Like in well, I guess my on-camera idols,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, I think Gary Oldman is probably one of the finest actors. Tim Roth is another one. I love Christopher Walken and his character work. He does the same character in everything he does, but you just like to watch him regardless.
Yeah.
And Sam Rockwell also. I really like those cats. And as far as voice acting goes, I don't know if I have any idols. I never really. I guess because I always wanted to. I was always in the business of vocal stuff. Like I was a singer before, and then a shitty singer before, and then moved on to. By the way, I'm a better singer now. Just for the record, I've learned how to sing, and now it doesn't mean anything. There's not a band, but I have learned how to sing. Like it's sad. But no, I never really. I think because when I wanted to become one, I never really. I don't know. Like I'm an actor. I've done many things at this point as far as acting goes, and on camera and off. And I've met a lot of people. I've met celebrities and stuff like that. And it's never. I've never had like a fanboy moment. I did, but it was like for this engineer Danny Lohner who worked with Trent Reznor. Like I have more of like a musical boner for. I'll have like fanboy out of like that's the guy who did the engineering on the one thing. Anyway, this is the dude. Anyway,
7 degrees of Trent Reznor.
Yeah, seriously. But no, I did have some great mentors. Maurice LaMarche was one of the first people to give me advice. And of course, he's brain of Pinky and the Brain and Futurama and all kinds of stuff. Been around for a while. And Phil Lamar subsequently was another cat who gave me some great advice when I first started. Just really nice guys meeting me for the first time, and I'm like, hey, and I would again be very forward with my approach, and it was just met with like, I don't know what I'm doing. If I'm weird about it, I'm sorry. That's like how I would start off conversations.
Yeah.
But they were so graceful, and I wasn't a dumbass. I listened to every word they said. Like I didn't. I think for actors out there who are starting stuff, and if you happen to meet somebody who is noteworthy, and has more experience than you, and you look at them as somebody who you admire in that realm, if they give you advice, just do what they say. I think a lot of actors new actors make a lot of, and people in general, when they're trying they're apprenticing something, and then they get some bit of advice, right? And I think a lot of people make the mistake of trying to spin it their way before they even grasp what they're doing, or before they're even their own masters, right? I think you can do that once you've now, you've learned how to fly. Now you can learn now do a barrel roll. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So those two guys were really cool, and I met a bunch of really cool people. Luckily, early on, Nancy Cartwright was another one to give me some solid advice. She plays Bart Simpson, and Dave Mitchell, who's in countless things. He was an amazing mentor and friend, like right out the gate. He was my first like friend. Like he became a mentor and then became my friend. And after that, I realized I'm like, these could just be my friends, and I don't have, they're just people. So the mentor thing kind of ebbed away when I started to just hang out more in that society. Namely because I knew I was their equal. I just was inexperienced. And Fred Tatasciore is another guy who I met. He's been the Hulk for the last 20 something years, and in countless other projects. He's an amazing human being, and his heart is just so full and kind. And one of the coolest things, I believe he's the one who said it. If he didn't say it, I know then Dave Mitchell said it. So if any of you guys are watching this, I'm sorry. I forget which one of you fuckers said it, but they said, he's like, what the coolest thing about your position, and what's the worst thing about your position? He's like, you're always going to be as good as you are as long as you're doing what you're doing. You're never going to be as good as so-and-so because they've been doing it 10 years more than you have. They will always have those 10 years over you, and time continues, and they will always be good because they're always learning, they're always developing, they're always paying attention to their craft and trying to improve as human beings and overall. So they're always getting better. So if I don't keep up with those cats, they're just gonna keep going through time, and I'm gonna stay right here. So I gotta at least I'm never gonna be here. You are never gonna be as good as your mentors, your idols. That's just not how time works.
Right.
That's bullshit. But you can at least keep up with the incline. Because look, as they're going up and you're over here, they were here years ago, and now look where you are. You see? Does that make sense? Like they were at that level too, but they're always growing, and you have to grow too. And I think that goes with business, life, love. Everything.
Yeah, makes sense. Humble your expectations and always keep growing.
And be open to change, and be open to failure, and be open to learning and struggle and winning and losing. You have to be open to all that shit, because all that stuff happens at a blink of an eye. I've had months where nothing happens. I was I'll share a quick personal story.
Sure.
Last year I was unemployed for 8 months. Okay, I didn't have an agent for 8 months, and that was a very difficult period for me because I don't collect unemployment. It's different for me. All of my savings were essentially depleted. I would challenge anybody not to work for 8 months and see how you do. It was difficult.
Yeah.
But I had all these other things, that I could be optimistic about, that I could work towards. And people might know me as an asshole, and I totally am. But the one thing I also am is an optimist. Surprisingly enough, I might come off as the opposite, but that's just not true. And my proof is that I'm still alive, because for all the stresses and pressures and dealing with drug recovery and all the crap that I've gone through, optimism is the one thing that's kept me going. This weird belief that if I just wake up the next day and try something,
Mm-hmm.
that things will get better, that things will improve. And you know what? I'm not fucking wrong. As many days, and look, and I'm also not gonna sugarcoat stuff. There's awful days still, but for the most part, that's the optimism of like, you know what? No, you are gonna get that job, or this is gonna happen. And you know what? You know, all the self affirmations you can think of. That sense of positivity is necessary. And even if you have to conjure it up from the bowels of your asshole, you can do it. And that's what I have to do sometimes, especially if I'm super gassy. So
Right.
that was me. That's me ending with a joke.
Nice.
That was. But
I'm learning.
that's my answer to that. Sorry, that was a long rant.
No, that was real. That was awesome. I mean, we had 5 viewers watching, but with the YouTube, this going up on YouTube, it's gonna get out there, and there's gonna be a lot of people seeing this. And words of wisdom from somebody that's been in the trenches is extremely important to get out there to everybody.
I can say this, Chris.
Yeah.
I tell my students this all the time, but I've made the mistakes for you already. You don't. You
Yeah.
can take my fucking word for it. You don't. So that's one of my things. It's like, yeah, I pretty much fucked up every way you could. Actually, not quite. I haven't been to jail, so that's good. Um, a prison. I haven't been either. I think that's one of the same. And no murders.
Yeah.
So we're all
Good.
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 I mean, that covers it.
At least
I
murders
was
that we
arrested
don't know of, right?
years ago for trafficking 18 pounds of donkey cocaine. And that's special kind of cocaine that only donkeys make out of their poop.
It's
That's
awesome.
not true. That's
That
not
is
true.
awesome.
It's called a non sequitur, folks. Okay, next.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to break that. I had to break the tension.
No, I was just gonna say you really touched on a good subject there because and just in general for anybody out there getting into voice acting or anything at all, like I'm not there yet, but I'm trying. There's a Crispin Freeman is one of the guys out there that I listen to on a podcast occasionally, and he brought up something about he had a guest on that brought in a really good point where it said you're going to go through 100 no's before you get a yes, and you can't look at rejection as rejection. You kind of have to translate it to that just wasn't yours to get at the moment, like it wasn't your time. And if you can kind of like eventually, I don't know if this really relates too well to what you were saying, but I just wanted to kind of throw it in there that like if you
well, I
can
mean, no, we could change course,
that
and
mindset.
I mean, it does, and also just to change courses and talk a little bit more business and voiceover related stuff. I don't agree with that. I actually don't agree with looking at not getting jobs as rejection. I think that language should change overall. You are not going to get an email every time you send an audition out saying, sorry, we didn't choose you.
Yeah.
That's not how that works. Okay. You just don't hear back from them. Right. If you want to put it, saying that you were rejected is saying that you said, hey, will you go out with me? And then somebody saying no. Hey, will you have dinner with me? No, like the rejection. Like, hey, will you eat this cake? No. Like, that you have to have the no for the rejection. And I really think that it's I think it's unhealthy to think that way, because then that creates pressure that isn't there. And I'll say it because of this. I've cast a couple of projects at this point, and directed a couple projects. And I will say, per my experience, it's not, they're not listening to your audition and going like, he's garbage. No,
right.
It's just next one, next one, next one. And when that one hits, you're like, oh, let's put that guy on top stack. Top stack is like the top 5 candidates when you go through the first rounds of auditions of all the submissions, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So they go through the 600 to whatever 1,000 that they got to go through every job that they put out. That's that's how much, the auditions are getting in, they got to go through. And then they pick the top 5, and then and that's, it's as simple as that. There is no judgment on you as an actor. There is no rejection, right?
Mm-hmm.
You weren't right for the part. That's it. That's as easy as that is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I will tell you, when you are right for the part, you get the job.
Yeah.
It's not, it is unlike the on camera world where first of all, the competition is like way more saturated. So there's that. Uh, Also, there's a lot of political pressure depending on blah 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 blah. There's a lot of factors in that. With voiceover auditions, the playing field is a lot more even. It's a lot more uh, fair. So you know you get a person who's a novice. And if you submit enough, you might book some random thing, and that's just it.
Yeah.
Within the first year, you know, statistically, you're not even supposed to book anything until like your year 2, until you're like, what the fuck you're doing. Um,
Mm.
but if you're, but you can. I've coached many people and who booked within the first year because I'm like, do this, do that, do this better, and then
Yeah.
I'm a mean coach, and but they get the fucking job, and the reason is because they're vigilant, okay, and they submit enough to where they're getting their groove. And the more you record, the more you do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like any old, it's cliche as shit. Is you want to learn an instrument, this is your instrument.
Yeah.
How are you gonna get good at an instrument? You have to practice that motherfucker every day. Anybody who plays, my musicians friends, what I'm talking about. Like
Yeah.
it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And the more you practice, the better you're at your instrument, right? The less you're thinking about performing with it, the easier the entire process is to audition. The less you're thinking about all that, the more comfortable you are. The more comfortable you are, the better performance that you do. And the better performance that you do, the more jobs you're going to probably fucking book. And
Yeah.
that's just because you fit the goddamn part. So there's a process to all that stuff. And people who want to ignore that process, and it's so important that you don't, because that's you developing as an artist.
Yeah.
And people who think that he can just jump into this because they watch anime and shit. No offense to anybody, all my anime people, you know what I'm talking about. But they're like, I can do this. I'm like, no, you can't. You're not an actor yet. You have to be an actor first. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing too. And those steps are very important in becoming one. Right. I could talk about this for a long time, but but that's the gist of it. Like, don't everything you do. If somebody's opening a restaurant, okay, there's steps to getting the door open to that. And then even when you have the door, you have the permits, the leases, you built the place is decorated, you have all the shit, you have the staff. Now you got to promote the restaurant. You got to get people to eat there.
Mm-hmm.
To even get to the grand opening, you have to do permits, like build your shit, get the decor, get the right plates and the right forks and the cool wine glasses and all the things you need to make your restaurant pleasant for people to come in and do business there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same, and I could throw whatever that applies to whatever business. Same shit. Okay, you're gonna need all those little things before you open the doors, and then when you get to opening your doors, it's about your brand. Why should they have your tomato sauce when Steve's Italian place down the street has the same tomato sauce that Chris's place down the street? It's the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
So why eat at your restaurant rather than the other restaurant?
Right.
So then there's that process, and all that stuff you will discover along your adventure of figuring out what kind of artist you are, your strengths, your weaknesses,
Mm-hmm.
what you're going to do with your brand, right? It's easy to say, and I'm not trying to discourage anybody right now, but it's easy to say, oh, I want to do voices in animation, or I want to do this. I'm like, oh, great. Can you do promo? Can you do commercial? Can you do all these other things that pretty much any successful voice actor also does to make a living off of it? You can't just, anime doesn't pay well, period. Okay. You can't do that. And non-union stuff doesn't pay well for the most part. They're getting better. It's getting better on that scale. I will say that. especially the last several years. It is getting better. So it's becoming more sustainable, but still, it's it's not the same as getting a union job, and then getting into SAG after is a whole other trek. That's like when you've had your grand opening and you start having customers in there. Now you want to expand to a different location. Then you go to SAG after. So they got to figure out how to do that. That's different permits and all that. Come on.
Yeah.
Is this enough metaphor for everybody?
This is good. This is good. I was just gonna throw one in there. When you start in a small pond, and when you become the biggest duck in the pond, and you're too big for that pond, go for the bigger pond,
right?
And then just keep on moving up.
Yeah, and even then, you got to walk to the other pond, right? There's steps you got to take.
Yeah.
Or fly there.
Waddle, whatever.
Well, hopefully at that time you can fly. You should be able to fly the next big pond.
That's right. You're a goddamn duck. I mean, why not?
Yeah, fucking A, man. Ducks fly, I think.
Use the metaphor.
Yeah, I totally do. Yeah. Next question. Or how we doing?
Next question. Well, we got one in chat back here. Super Munch again chiming in saying top 3 favorite vocal performances.
Oh, mine. I was like, well, Beyonce can sing a mean tune. No.
Yes.
There's
I'm known as Rent Tresner.
I think my fun. Favorite or fun?
Favorite.
The favorite. My favorites. My favorites are definitely 9 from Final Fantasy Type 0. Rico Rodriguez from Just Cause 4. And I mean, if I can count Tiberius as a vocal performance, I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Hell yeah.
I always love. He's a voice I always love to do. But yeah, the close third would probably be like Apollo Justice from Ace Attorney, for sure. Because that's, I think, one of the very few roles I've done where it's closer to just my voice, like my normal voice, rather than everything else has always been a voice I put on.
Now, going back to Tiberius, in Draconian Knights, you still have a cast of some pretty cool people in there too, don't you?
Yeah, I mean the main cast is pretty sweet. We have had some incredible. You talk about the guest stars too.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we've had some.
Name drop away.
Oh my God! Let's see. Let's see if I can remind. I'm gonna see if I can remember all the guest stars from episode 2 and up, because I know there wasn't any on episode 1. Episode 2 was Curtis Weeb, the creator of Rat Queens. Episode 3 was, I believe, Josh Keaton from Voltron and a bunch of other stuff. I think he was also Spider-Man and Green Lantern at one point. Fred Tatasciore. I think episode 4 was both of them again. I think episode 5 was Fred and Stephanie Shea of Countless. She's awesome at Countless Things, which led to, I believe, episode 6, which is Shannon McCain, Katie O'Brien, and then that led into TJ Storm, Christina V, who plays the Queen of Air and Darkness. She was amazing as the Queen of Air and Darkness. In there, DC Douglas, who plays Puck in an episode. Jason Marsden, and they all came into stuff. Yuri Lowenthal, and Dante Bosco from of course Avatar: Last Airbender and stuff.
That's pretty killer lineup.
That's thanks. And coming up, Shannon, the next. So I could not a spoiler, but my guests for the next episode are most likely Maurice LaMarche, Joe Zija, Shannon McCain's coming back, and my buddy Stefan Martello. There's a couple other ones that I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, but I'm going to see them if they are. Then that'll be fun. And the cast, Amari Williams and who's Papa Stormwind is coming back as well. Anna Brisbane actually is not on the show anymore. So I replaced her with this actress by the name of L.O.R.E who will be premiering on the last episode. It'll be weird. I don't know. I was like, it's been so long, but and Erica Ishii is also in the show as well. But she will not be returning for the next season.
She played your Tiberius's sister?
Draka, yes. Yeah, which is interesting. So for the next episode, what I've had to do, because I didn't want to replace her, so I did like a South Park Chef Returns kind of thing where I just took footage from old recordings and then chopped them up to what I want her to say. So I could finish out the season as I see fit. And then probably recast for the return when I get to it. So that's been a whole interesting thing. Switch around too, and then casting for Target Boy is now also underway, and I've been putting out my feelers for guest stars for that too. It's always fun because really, it's funny because I take out. It's just a nice reason for me to like reach out to people.
Yeah.
And the process is so easy with my shows because we all have our own rigs at home.
Yeah.
And some people actually prefer just coming by and I'm like where are we gonna meet? I was like, my living room. This is where I don't know. I'm like, where I don't have like a studio. But other times it's just I do this kind of thing. I do like a Skype direction thing, and they record stuff, and I'm like, great, and they email it, and I slice it in and call it a fucking day.
Cool.
It's a nice painless process, which is great. But yeah.
So speaking of like being able to use the stuff at home, what kind of gear and software do you use if you're open to sharing?
Yeah, no. I have the Yamaha 50s for 2 monitors for my speakers, and I use an old. I should really update some of this, but whatever. If it ain't broke, but I use an old Scarlett. What is that? 2i2.
Oh, the 2i2.
Yeah,
that's what I use. Hey.
For my interface.
Cool.
And just a classic boom mic. I have an AKG. I think this is a 3000C. I think this is a discontinued mic, but there's that, and then I have a Stedman pop screen. These are the best pop screens. They're a little pricey, but whatever, $100, and you'll never have to replace pop screen ever again.
Wow.
And that's pretty much it. The foam I got from I got this from when I was still working at Apple, to be perfectly honest. There's that, but I have a bunch of I find a corner in my apartment and foam up 2 sides of the corner and the ceiling. This behind me is actually a shoji wall. It's a 3-panel shoji wall, screen wall that I fashioned or modified, I should say. Behind the foam is 3 panels of maple plywood, and I drilled that onto the shoji wall to one side, and then used kind of a 3M spray to glue the foam to the plywood. So this is essentially like a pretty decent sound wall, and on the other side it looks like a pretty Japanese shoji wall.
That's really cool.
So it doesn't clash with the living space. And then this, I'm pretty rudimentary when it comes to my shit, but this is just like one of those Fernie pads that you get at Home Depot, and those are great Yeah, those are great to line your wall. They're like $12 a pop, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they're great to line up on your walls if you don't have sound foam, if you can't afford it or whatever. It's
Mm-hmm.
pretty expensive, I believe, online. But yeah, this is like my side wall, and there's like a clip holding it up. And when I'm done, I just take it down, and my rest of my place is over here. So yeah, that's like my little setup and stuff. And I run everything off of a Mac Mini.
Okay.
I'm pretty proud of that, actually. Actually, my entire career I've used Mac Mini, which is my friends make fun of me a lot, but that's I don't care. And Adobe Audition is the audio software I predominantly use for all my single track recording. So all my auditions, I'll do that. If I'm mixing or doing stuff or producing a demo or whatever, I do it in Logic and Pro Tools if I have to. But I mainly use Logic. It's less
of a hassle, right? Yeah, I know a lot of with learning the trade here. I know they say like with Pro Tools, it's just like you really don't. It's too much to learn for if you're just recording vocals, but Adobe Auditions is definitely
it could be handy with it when you're doing like full sessions and stuff. Like it's really good when it comes to that. But I mean, for the most part, I record everything in Adobe Audition, and just I think it has the best sound. It's essentially Photoshop for sound. You can do a lot of really cool, intricate things with getting out noises and noise reduction and all that other stuff. It's really handy. But yeah, and I have a studio channel compressor or preamp, I should say, which I use to balance everything else out.
Is that external or internal, like software? External?
Yeah,
nice. Noise. Old school. Yeah, true story. If my dad's watching, sorry, Dad, but he's a musician. So I kind of follow his footsteps too, and he's just started recording at home, and his pop filter is hilarious because it's one level of it's like real cheap pop filter, but then it wasn't cutting it for the P's and the T's and the S's and whatnot. So he actually took my mom's nylons and wrapped it around a sewing stitching kit or something like that, and like taped them together. So now he has 2 layers. Yeah. So it's like,
that
so
works.
He's got a little bit of mom with him.
that works. That will muffle your overall like output, your projection. That's where you have to learn how to. You got to cheat the P's and T's. So like when you do like a hard P, you got to like make sure it's not. It's like it's. Can you hear that if I'm doing that?
Yeah. Yeah, you can hear the difference with the angle away and then the direct in.
But the Stedman, that's why you get the Stedman, because it's like, if I blow straight, I feel it like at the bottom of my head. It's really cool. These things are great. But yes, go Stedman or go home.
Yeah.
This is not sponsored.
So it's not women's lingerie wrapped around a circle.
No.
Sorry, Dad.
It's fine. I mean, hey, if he's into that. That's cool.
But yeah, so Kyle chimed in a couple times. He was asking how was it working with Dante, aka Rufio.
Oh, Dante Bosco. He was great. Super professional. Really he was just a really chill dude. We chatted for a while, and he came by. He actually came by my place, and it was cool, man. It was funny because I did hide my my 2 Avatar Last Airbender posters before he came over because I thought it would be weird.
Right.
So I did do some like, oh shit, a girl's coming over.
Yeah.
Kind of rush thing that we like oh, and then I think there's a word for that. I don't know what it's called, but you clean up really fast. But I was just like, oh shit. I don't want to fanboy too hard, but that's the thing, when you're hanging out with them, the fanboy thing, that didn't even happen, and I was just like, oh, you're super chill. We had met, for context, we had met before a couple times and chatted and talked, and which is why I had his number to call him to ask me to be a guest. But no, he was fucking really cool. Yeah.
Okay, Kyle's got another one here. This one's a long one. Have you ever written a summary or script up for a movie before? And if you have, what was it about? If you haven't, what would you make it about?
I don't know. No, I haven't. I always, I did think that there was this cool idea of like a zombie movie, but where like the zombies were like the good guys, and like the humans, like it was as like an apocalypse film would be, but like it's from their perspective, so they become the protagonist, and there's like subtitles. And
Oh,
then
so like when they're mumbling, it translates to what they're. Yeah, that's
yeah, like I always
like
thought like that was kind of a cool thing that could happen. So like we, and because I just always thought there'd be these great, stupid scenes, like love scenes between these two zombies, and they're just like, all fucked up, and all they're doing is like, and like beautiful things are just like coming across the screen. And then just it like cuts to the girl zombie, and she's like, and like her chin's falling off, and it's like beautiful things are just doing. I just always there's a lot of scenes in my head like that where I'm like, that would be really stupid and funny. And like they would kiss, but like they would like just mush their mouths, and it would be disgusting, and then there'd be like this goop pull apart, but like this like crescendo of lovely music that like raises the soul like in the back.
Yeah. That's interesting. That would probably go cult classic real quick with a spin on like that. That's neat.
So that's kind of the thing, and of course like the zombies win, because they finally, but really that translates to like the world's over, like
yeah.
It's like, but like they're standing on top of this wonderful mountain, and like all the zombies are just roaming freely, and they're like, we've done it, sweetheart. And like I don't know, I'd probably call it like zombie a love story or something like that. So that's really the only thing, and I think that idea was something that like an ex-girlfriend of mine she had like a shittier version. She came up with that idea, and it was stupid, and then I was like, no, but what if it was I think the original idea was it was like a serious drama, and I was like, no, this has to be a fucking comedy. And so that's I think that's where that's from.
Or like a rom-com.
Yeah, 100%. I was like I would love to see that, and like it would have to be like Shakespearean level like writing of subtitles. Like I really wanted the zombies to be super intelligent, like but all you see is the which that's
deep. That's deep, man. You could go for hours on that one.
Yeah.
That would be something I would love to sit in on, because
so that's the only movie idea I think would be kind of neat.
Yeah, I'm a huge zombie fan, so any concept with zombies I'm all about.
That's cool. Shit.
Yeah. I don't know the titles for shit, but I know that one of the recent ones was with the guy where he was the zombie and he was the antagonist, and then like he slowly was transforming kind of back into a human, and like she fell for him. I wish I could remember what the hell it was called. I think it was the actor that plays Beast in the last X-Men movie.
Oh shit.
But
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I got a few more questions, and then we can get to the wrap up. What was your aha moment when you realized that you were a voice actor?
When I got my first job. That's when I got my demo done, I started to Craigslist was actually one of my first places I just started to look up. I looked everywhere, and Craigslist had a bunch of voiceover stuff, and I submitted for this thing, and this was within the first week of submitting. I booked something, and I like couldn't believe it. I was like, what? And it was for this. It was an industrial, or not industrial, but it was an independent thing. It was for this documentary, for what was it called? It was for like this Christian rock guy. The true story of Aim Something Angel. God, I wish I remembered it. Fallen Angel, the true story of something. Anyway, the guy who produced it was that he won like an Emmy in like 2012 or 2012, and like in 2002, for like some indie documentary. So the guy was like legit. I was like, oh, this guy, cool. I made $2,000 for, like, it took me 3 hours to record, right?
Wow.
And when I was done, and he was like on the phone with me, like on the phone patch, like just on speaker, like that's called a phone patch. Where they're just like kind of on the phone with you. For people who don't know, and yeah, he's like, that's great. Fallen Larry Norman, the story of Larry Norman. I'm like, I said that name so many times, like it still sticks with me. Larry Norman. Yeah, the story, I think it's called Fallen Angel or something like that. The story of Larry Norman. And I just did this Christian rock documentary thing, and I remember, like, he paid me within a week. I get like a check for, you know, a couple $1,000, and you know, that was it. I was like, holy shit, like, so that was like, I was like, wow, this is great, and it was off to the races from there. I was like, I need more, you know, come on, for the amount I was paid, you know, you know, that was like a week, or that was like almost 2 weeks of pay, you know, of my normal job.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was, you know, huge. So, yeah, that really lit a fire under my ass, so to speak.
It's awesome.
to keep it going.
What was it like donning the mask of Deadpool in Superpower Beatdown?
Oh, yeah, well, that's cool. I didn't know you were gonna ask me that. That was super fun. I love playing Deadpool. That was, let's see, that was really cool to do, because the first episode we did Superpower Beatdown, I played Deadpool. I know I've met Joe Mad before. Joe Madadera. He was one of the original artists for the original Deadpool. Right? So he worked on. He was one of the creators, one of the OG guys.
Yeah.
He's created a lot of cool stuff. And his that was super cool because he gave me a thumbs up. He saw the episode, and he was just like, "Hey man, way to represent." And that was awesome for him to say, namely because the stuff that you see in the Batman episode, and the Batman episode. I'm just trying to make sure I get this right. And like 25-30% of the Joker episode with Deadpool, I improv all my shit, which was awesome. The director was cool enough to like try to just let me go nuts, and namely because I was like, I know this character through and through, and I believe it was the way it was written didn't really jive with me. I didn't really like how it was too stiff, and I was like, no, he needs to be. This is a 5. He needs to be a 10. And it was just really cool. So all the ideas, or most of the ideas, they just kept in those sketches, and I really liked doing that. I hope they're not planning on doing another one soon, because I'm super fat right now, and I have to like lose like 15 pounds if I'm gonna put that freaking suit back on.
Are they still running the series?
Yeah, I believe so. They haven't done. I mean, they haven't called me in a minute, but I think they're doing a lot of like Batman. They do a lot of. I mean, that's Bat in the Sun, but
yeah, I
that's
saw the Bat
kind of their thing.
before.
But they're doing a lot of like Batman Joker stuff right now, from what I understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're still doing that. We did a show called the Reaction Spandex, where it was like me and Spider-Man doing peanut gallery on videos that that they had put out, which
yeah.
is also super fun. I really enjoyed all those as well. But yeah, it was really great, and really snug. To answer the question.
Very snug with the spandex, I'm sure. You played Spider-Man and Master Chief too, didn't you?
Yeah. They've thrown a few things. I did Spider-Man for the Spider-Man 29/9 versus Batman Beyond, and I did Master Chief versus Captain America. There's another one. I did Voss from Far Cry, and there's like this. I think that was one of the first ones. It was Voss and against like the Assassin's Creed guy and Max Payne, and that was really fun too. But and I've actually worked with them on other projects that haven't come out yet, which is kind of neat.
That's cool.
And that's been on camera stuff. Worked a hello goddess. I saw something pop up. I worked on a Netflix pilot with them last year, and apparently that's still I don't know what's going on, but they haven't shit canned it yet, so that's good. Let's see what happens with that. And that's for obviously on camera stuff too. So there's been a lot of stuff that they've thrown me over the years, and it's pretty sweet. But yeah, other random things that I did for Screen Junkies, just on side note, was Harry Potter. That was another fun one that I remember doing a couple of years ago.
Nice.
But yeah.
And okay, well, I got some rapid fire, and then we'll bring up some artwork and have you breathe some life into some characters.
Okay.
Next question.
Traditions
or superstitions? Go. Just like what any kinds
traditions,
of
superstitions.
Yeah. Your goods and your bads.
I don't have any superstitions. Actually, no, I don't have any traditions. Actually, do I have traditions? If I book a job, I kind of do like the 1990s like pump fist in the air jump, like when they stay in the air. I do that.
How long do you stay in the air though?
As long as I can.
All right,
as long as
it's important. Facts.
And as far as superstitions, going back to the rejection part of acting and how I don't think that is appropriate. As soon as I set out an audition, I forget that it exists. It is out in the wind, and it takes a while, by the way, to get to that place mentally where you can do it, and I understand that, but when you can, it's very. So that's I don't know if that's a superstition. Because I feel if I think about it, I won't get it. So
yeah, that's I'm kind of superstitious about that too. Like if I start thinking about something, I'm like, ah, shit, why did I think about that? Now it's not going to happen.
Yeah. So, but other than that, not really. I might have a thing where, yeah, no, that's it.
Sweet. All right. Favorite food? I know there's probably so many.
I mean, if I could do a category like Asian food, like if I could do like a general cultural thing, because I love Chinese. I could like probably eat Chinese every day, which I did, and that's why I'm super fat now. Again, I mentioned I was fat. There's I got really comfortable, but no, that's the noodles. I love sushi, Chinese, Thai, Filipino. I pretty much like both, except for Filipino food. I don't like that too much. Well, I don't know, but they do have good fried chicken. I guess So, sure. That would definitely be my go-to thing. Yeah.
Okay, cool. What's your favorite color?
I always see blue, but I think gray and I think gray and blue. I don't know the thing and black. Just like those like darker toned kind of fella.
Cool. Very cool. Do you have a lucky number? Or a
3.
favorite number? 3?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I don't know why. It's always been since I was a kid.
Awesome. What about a favorite place to go? Whether it be vacation or literally just I don't know, what do they call those? Like a happy place.
There's a spot that I used to like going to a lot up on Mulholland here in near Santana Valley, and there's this really cool. We're in the middle of like the city and stuff, and there's not very much nature until you go to like the rims, where I'm located. But in the heart and right in the middle of the valley, there's this hiking trail that leads to this lake. It's like the middle of this canyon that you have to like find and then drive down and park and then hike, and then there's like a lake. It's just like in the middle of fucking LA, and it's really really cool and it's pretty secluded. So it's a really nice place to just, and there's like a little quarry right next to it too. So it's like really the only place where I know there's like a tiny little quarry. So it's a neat little like nature spot, like right in the middle of all this garbage. I like going there.
Yeah, do you feel like it's like a recharging your battery, kind of getting back in touch with nature kind of thing?
Yeah, I think maybe there's that a little bit. I think for me, moreover, it's just a nice, quiet place amongst all the noise.
Yeah.
So it's a nice place to find solace, rather than like the nature's nice. I enjoy the lake. It's probably why I go there, but because there's ducks and I like animals and all that stuff. I'm a big animal weirdo. Actually, today I randomly fed a squirrel, so that was weird. And it actually took the nut from my hand and do you know squirrels' hands, by the way, are super soft at the bottom? I didn't till today. So anyway, but yeah, I think it's more of the quiet, the solace amongst all the noise that happens.
Yeah, I'll chime in real quick just because it's a nature thing. Living in a kind of a city that's real small. The band Live, right? Yeah, they are actually from here in New York, and they called it that song "Shit Town." Gotta live in Shit Town. That's about this place, and even Kyle and chat can tell you that it's a shitty city. But it's nice to get out of it and go hit a trail or hit the lake or something, and just get that recharge away from that hustle and grind of the daily bullshit. Every day that we go through, and then to just get out there for like an hour or two.
Yeah, you got to clear your head, clear your lungs. Like just it's always nice. Chase ducks. That's always a fun pastime.
Yeah, like if we were as humans like iPhones, like that's like my way of going and recharging the battery. Like go plug me in with the trees. All right, so favorite holidays. Do you have any favorite holidays at all?
No, I don't. Actually, I don't like holidays. It's a weird thing to say, but I don't. I'm always like, I just want to work more. I just always want to work. So for me, holidays mess that up. But that's just me. I understand that anybody listening to this or watching this might be like, "Fuck you, man!" Like,
"Fuck you, Santa Claus."
No, because not that. It's just like people, they work all the time, so they need holidays.
Right.
I'm for people like myself, who don't work every day, want to work every day. Like there's, so yeah, whenever I'm like Christmas rolls around, I'm like, oh great, because the industry shuts down for like a month or 2 months essentially.
Wow.
And so I'm just like, great. I hope it's like you gotta hope that you make some money before November, because essentially everybody leaves town during December and stuff, and I'm just like, damn it, I want to work still, please.
Yeah.
So
That's an interesting perspective coming from your line of work. You know, a lot of people don't take that into consideration, that when the industry shuts down for a holiday, well, what are you doing?
You're not doing shit. You're not doing shit. Like, that's the thing. And and I mean, you'll get a couple auditions here and there, but for the most part, everything does shut down. And yeah, and I have, by the way, for my peers who go take vacations and see their families during that time. Yeah, I understand. You're not from L.A. It's a good opportunity for you to go, and I get it. It's like, that's cool. You get to go, and see family that you don't normally get to see because there's time to go do it now. That's a nice thing, but I don't again have that problem because all my family's in fucking LA. So I'm like, yeah, I saw the moms already. It's all good. Like, talked to her last week, and I understand that it's a nice opportunity for my peers to go enjoy that too. So I personally am just like, I'm over it. I just want to let's just work, people. But yeah.
Oh, and you're doing what you love too. I mean, it doesn't really feel like work anymore, right? To a degree.
I don't know, man.
It like still work.
No, I mean it's always still work. The auditioning is more of a work than anything else. Mm-hmm. Like, just, when you have 3-4 hours of recording to do, that's work. You're performing, you're doing your thing, you're editing, you're getting all that stuff out there. And then when you actually, if you get to book the job and you're actually working on the job, then it's it all depends. You're gonna have fun. I mean, it's always fun. I'll say this: it's never not fun, but it's definitely draining. It's definitely takes a lot of energy out of you because you're performing, and you're doing it pretty straight on for a while. And there's a big difference. So if, like, for on-camera work, you'll do a scene, right? And everything breaks up in scenes. You might work on that scene for however long it takes to shoot it, right? Could be one take, could be 20. Therefore the scene could take 5-10 minutes to shoot, or 2 hours, depending, or whatever, 3 or 4, whatever the circumstances are, right? But in between each scene, there is a very, very long break. There's the saying in Hollywood of, there's a lot of waiting around to do nothing, or waiting around to do something. Did I just fuck that saying up? I don't think I'm even saying that right, but I'm pretty sure it's close to that. And essentially, that the thing is that on set, you're waiting to shoot a scene. You're waiting for everybody to get set up, and there's a lot of downtime. And so, you get to sit and go over your lines and do whatever you're doing before the next scene that you're going to shoot pops up.
Yeah.
And then on voiceover, that's not the case. You're just constantly going. You're one line after the other, one scene after the other. They take breaks. They take 5-minute breaks, I think, depending on what director you're doing. If you're working pretty fast paced and you're hitting it and you're just going and the dialogue is flowing, you might take a break at the 1 hour mark, maybe a 2 hour mark, depending on, they'll be like, hey, they'll check in with you, like, you need a break, and then they'll take a 5-minute break so you can drink up and maybe have some tea or go to the bathroom, whatever you need to do.
Yeah. But
then boom, it's just constant. So there isn't that break in between scenes for voice actors. There is no, let me sit down and, no, we don't get that. It's next line. You might have a gig or, a game or something where you're doing like 800 lines and they're like, we have 3 hours to do this, or like 1,000 lines. They're like, we got 3 hours to do this. And you're like, okay. Wow. And then you got to do it in 3 hours. You know what I mean? So there's that. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So last question of the day. Do you still play D&D?
Do I still play D&D? I haven't played in a long, well, that's not true. I DM'd not a few months back. So I
Mhm.
guess yes.
Was that the East Coast thing that you flew
Yeah.
over to do?
Yeah, I still have I believe I have one more in-person game to DM. But all the in-person stuff.
Yeah.
So just to explain for people who are watching, I had a Kickstarter that was terribly managed and by the people who or person who initially started and managed the whole thing. And then I made terrible decisions because, again, hashtag don't do drugs. Um, and but then I finally got a hold of the reins, and it took me a long time to get this Kickstarter completed, to get everything out to all the backers and everything else. And it was challenging until a good friend of mine and well, a couple good friends stepped in and decided to say, "Hey, we're going to help you get all this stuff out," and and all that stuff. The one of the things that backers could do was buy a spot for me to go to me to Skype a DM a game for him personally. And I felt bad that it took so fucking long, and so to the people who bought, because those were like the highest tier things that you could back on the Kickstarter. So I got a hold of everybody. And there was only actually 3 different parties. So I've done like 2. I flew out to the East Coast twice. And essentially I called them and said, "Hey, I'm sorry. I will come and fly myself out and do it in person if you like, as opposed to over, the thing." Because I was just like, I gotta make it up somehow.
Yeah.
I felt bad, that it took so fucking long. So I was like, in person, and 2 parties were like, yeah, and the other party was like, nobody I know is in this area, so we have to do it online. And so yeah, I flew myself out to Maryland was the first place I did a personal DM thing for, and then Michigan was the other place I went to, and it was a lot of fun. I was terrified, I gotta say, DMing. But it was overall a pretty fun experience both times, which is super interesting because I have the same kind of situation for this. It's a one shot, so I have the same situation set up for each party I went to.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like 3 different things, like paths they could choose, and then I would go off of that. And it was interesting to me that both parties picked the same path. But the results were completely fucking different. Like, both were great, but I was just so surprised on both how different. The same scenario, so they chose the same path, and then each time, or each of those scenarios were totally different outcomes, in a really really cool way. So.
Like a kind of like rereading a Choose Your Own Adventure book.
Kind of, yeah, but but that's the thing. The Choose Your Own Adventure is like they could have gone 3 different routes.
Yeah.
Both times, both parties chose the same route. So there's A, B, and C. They both chose A, but A turned out way different from each other. It's just the gameplay. People, it was a lot of fun. And yeah, so I have one more of those to do. That I plan on doing by the end of next month for sure. And yeah, as far as being a player goes, no, it's been a long time. I haven't played a game in year and a half or so. So it's been a minute. But that might change. I'm actually thinking about calling up a couple buddies and seeing if they want to get a game together, and I don't know, maybe streaming it. That's a down the road thing, but
please do.
But yeah, that's the biggest trick is to try to find a character as cool as Tiberius, and then make a new character all over. But actually, I have a few up my sleeve, so that's fine.
Oh, you do? Cool. cool. That was gonna be my next question. Would be if you had to come up with one on the spot, like what race and class would you pick?
I mean, it would definitely be another Dragonborn. I don't think I'm never not going to pick a Dragonborn. I don't know. I'm personally biased towards them. But I don't know. Maybe something. I don't know. Probably that. I don't know. I would have to look at but there's a new like Arcoa, right? The bird races. Those seem kind of neat. I don't know. There's stuff, but then there's also, yeah. Wait, have they done the what is that class? Not the mentalists. Have they done that yet, or what are they called? Not the mentalists. Do they have a mentalist? I don't know. I've done a monk before, but I don't know. I'd be so upset about like, oh, another sorcerer, but I mean, I just really like magic. I've always been a caster. Monk would be. I played monk too, and I really enjoyed that as well. I don't know, maybe like an arcane archer, or maybe I don't know. Maybe I could do a dual class of like a monk wizard. That'd be kind of cool.
A monk wizard. That'd be a good multi-class. That'd be interesting.
That'd be weird as shit. God, how would you do that? Because then you can incorporate like a fucking fireball into like your like fist weapon and shit, and like you do. Hey folks, let's think about this for a while.
Let's grind this one out.
Oh, there's like another thing. I'm not actually answering a question. I'm just like spitballing in my head. I'm like, oh, I can do that, and then I can also do that, and if you I mean, think about it. If you check this shit out, if you did like a specialist with a monk, like say with a rope or like a chain, then you could like wrap fools up and like misty step to like different places and like do all kinds of. It'd be kind of cool.
It'd be an interesting, for sure. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good. An artificer, that'd be cool. A monk artificer, that would be kind of neat. But yeah, so I don't know. That's actually not answering your question. We're just talking.
Hey, I'm all about talk. Man, I can go for forever talking about characters and just creating characters. I think it's just the like letting yourself go and then kind of diving into that character and we're like, who would this be and why would they know this and that, and because I'm not much of a book reader, so the D&D handbook is more or less just kind of there to help me when I'm got all the stupid nerd questions.
I mean, yeah, no, it's essentially the monk sorcerer. I guess it could be a wizard or a sorcerer. Essentially, that's kind of like a Doctor Strange. I just realized that I'm trying to describe right now, like somebody who would know how to, but still, actually, he doesn't know martial arts. Who am I talking about? I mean, I guess his helper.
Oh shit! I know. Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but I don't know the name.
Kyle's like, yeah, that's how the creation works, man. Jump down the rabbit hole. Yeah, I mean, really, you could just really get into that pretty well. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, as I promised, for who was sticking around and watching, I have a friend, a local artist. His name's Justin Bettis, and he sent me a couple of drawings and quick sketches and stuff of just some original characters, and I thought it'd be really cool at the end to wrap up and just kind of have you if you can see it on stream. I got it. It's just right above me here.
Hold on. Let's see. I don't have it. You're gonna have to. Actually, let me see if I can do this thing here. I have to open it up. Hold on.
Yeah, no problem. Take your time.
Okay. I am.
And guys, if you're watching, when this goes over to YouTube, I will make sure that I put all the links in that if you want to check out Orion's YouTube channel, Twitch, and also for Justin's art as well.
Sweet. Okay. Let's see.
I can try sending them to you directly.
All right, I got you.
So right above my head here, in the tiny little box, which I conveniently made so tiny.
Okay.
Yeah. But I thought it'd be a really cool exercise to just kind of take a look at it, breathe it in, and then just give them some life. I think we have 4 of them from him.
All right, cool. So the first one with the sombrero.
Yeah, Desperobo.
Okay.
Desperabo.
There we go. That's what I want. Okay. Desperobo. Let's see.
Hola, señores y señoritas. I am Desperobo. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Hands down, that's awesome. That's fucking. I love the little twist at the end. Killed my father. Now prepare to die. Oh man. Okay. All right. Moving on to the second one here. Let's give this one a try. Bring him up. Can you see that one? Okay. It's so hard to get this to work in my favor. Yep. There we go.
Oh.
Excuse me, you got a light? Oh, I ran out of fire here. Was that you say? Oh no, it's not from a cigarette. I got a lot of fart.
Right, yeah. That's nice. Oh man, that was quick, dude. I like that one. That was rapid fire. All right. Let's see. This one he actually drew for a D&D character, which this was awesome. So I love this little guy here. You see him okay? Trying to make it
zoom in.
There we go.
All right.
There we go. Big ears, green eyes.
Ah, yes. Do you not know what these are called? I made them myself. They're called flibby mints. They make your insides become your outsides. Don't worry. It doesn't hurt that much.
Shit, dude. Oh, this is amazing. I love it. That was great.
Is that good?
That was good. I like the flippy mints. They make your insides turn out. Oh man. Okay, and one more. Honestly I can't wait for Justin to see this so he can shit himself.
Good. Tell him to wear a diaper.
Yeah. You might want these Depends. See if I can zoom in on this guy a little bit. That's about as far as I can get. It's like a robot gangster.
So I says to Mabel, I says, the potatoes, they go in the oven, not the freezer. You fucking crazy?
Bada boom, bada bing.
Boom, hey, forget about it.
Damn. Clutch, dude. Clutch, my sir. All right. Well, I mean, that's everything I have for you, man.
Nice.
We got 5 viewers back. So, hey, 5 viewers. What's up?
Yeah, what's up, everybody?
Greetings and salutations.
Oh, where is that? There. Yes. So, are you still there?
Yep, I'm still here. Yeah, so we can do a sign off if you like. If you want to have any closing words or words of inspiration.
Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. Chris, again, Congratulations on all your progress, and thanks for having me on and chatting and stuff. And yeah, everybody can have a sense of doubt at times, and things can get really shit. But look, I'm living proof, and so is Chris here. Living proof that with enough tenacity and hard work and being true to yourself, you can go a long way. And yeah, thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And with that, we'll sign off here. So, guys, be good to yourselves and be good to everybody else. And stay tuned for the next episode with Slipper Steve. Thank you very much, Orion Acaba.
Later.